You want to go
All right.
ahead with the disclaimer, Tig, and then I'll introduce our guest?
Absolutely. Why don't we get started? First off, I think we're finally live. All right. Hello, everyone. I want to welcome you all to Mind Haven, another beautiful Sunday. We have our quick disclaimer for what we're going to do today. Mind Haven is a podcast and weekly roundtable discussion that provides a safe space for real mental health conversations by people with lived experience. We are not trained professionals. We discuss our stories and current events and build community and solidarity. If you are in help, you need help. You're not alone. There is a call text 988 in the tagline below, and you're more than welcome to do that. But this is not we're not peer group. We're just here to build community and talk and shoot shit. So let's get started, shall we?
Yeah, and Cameron, we're allowed to swear. So if you have a that kind of mouth, don't hold back.
I
We'll
do
say
have that kind of mouth,
yeah,
so
yeah.
Yeah.
thanks.
All right. So today's topic is declining hormones and our mental health, and everything revolved around that. Our guest today is Cameron Silva Hammond, and she has a wealth of knowledge on this topic. So with that, we'll let Cameron kind of take the floor, and we'll chime in when we want to.
Okay, well, thank you. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. And I think this is a great idea for this Substack, and I'm really proud of you guys for doing that,
Thank
pulling
you.
it together. It's wonderful. So yeah, I'm Cameron or Cam, and I have become extremely passionate about hormones out of absolute necessity. No one had ever mentioned my hormones my entire life. Um, I think in hindsight, I probably had PMDD since I was, started my period, but no one had ever mentioned it to me. I'd never even heard of that. I was just thrown antidepressants since I was like in my early 20s. And they would work sometimes, but sometimes they didn't work at all and they couldn't really understand, but they would just keep prescribing them. And so I would just take it. And in my mid 40s to late 40s, I was feeling a little off. My periods were really erratic. It went to like every 3 months. And I had talked to some friends about it, and someone told me about a hormone specialist, and I thought, oh, okay, well, I'll go check her out. And this doctor was awesome. I loved her. She was so personable, and I felt heard, and I just really trusted her. She was great. She had great bedside manner. And took my did blood labs and prescribed me hormones. And after a while, I started to feel like I was going batshit crazy. I had no emotional regulation. I felt worse than I did than before I saw her. I mean, it got really bad, and I would go in and just break down crying to her and just say, I hate everybody. I hate my husband. I don't want to be around my kids, my mom, even my animals. I was like, something is wrong. And she would just pat me on the knee and say, oh, it's okay. Everyone feels like that sometimes. And I'm like, no, that I am not me.
Mhm.
So again, I would come back at my next appointment sobbing. My husband came in with me and he's like, I don't know what in the hell is going on with my wife. Like, she's not herself. This is awful. And they brought her manager in, talked to the head doctor, and they kept reassuring me. And I was like, I think I need estrogen. I think what you're giving me is not working. Like, I'm just feeling awful. Well, I ended up looking into it, talking to other women. I learned how to read my blood labs, and they had me to like an 18-year-old male's testosterone,
Hmm.
and I had zero estradiol, which is the strongest of our estrogens. And it was plummeting. She had me on such a low level of oral estradiol. And anyways, the combination was just awful for me. And so that's why I became so passionate about it. And I started talking to women, listening to women, really listening to everyone's different stories, and taking notes. I started learning everything I could. And I pretty much have been completely obsessed with learning everything that has to do with women's bodies and declining hormones. And I've talked to thousands and thousands of women. I talk to women all the time on support groups. And I did find a new doctor, telemedicine, and I told them my story. We did some new labs, and I said, okay, this is what I think I need. And they completely agreed. And I've been with them. So I was with the first doctor for 2 years, spent thousands and thousands of dollars. It was ridiculous. And
I'm sure, sorry, Cam, insurance probably didn't help with that.
Nothing. No, not at all. But I was so desperate. I was willing to spend the money. The telemedicine doctor isn't cheap. I have figured out a few ways to get some things covered, like my labs to be covered. You have to get a yearly physical at a local doctor. I was able to get that covered. So I was able to get a few things covered, but my actual hormone prescriptions are really inexpensive. I only see the doctor every 6 months now. And then there's like free call-in with a nurse in between. But I still am my own advocate and pretty much my own doctor. If something goes weird, which I've had things go really weird recently, and it's crazy to me how much we as women have to, or if you're born female, that you have to
self-advocate.
You have to stand up for yourself. No one is going to stand up for you. Yep. You have to know what the hell you're talking about. And before that experience, I never even questioned doctors. I just thought, oh, they know more than I do.
Yeah.
And they've got the education, everything.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, honestly.
Yeah, go ahead, Tig.
Yeah. It's an interesting time in history because something that I think a lot. I mean, I'm from an academic background. I'm currently not just in the sciences, but also in the marketing business side of things, back and forth with logistics and otherwise. That's my field of study. And what I'm noticing is that, especially in recent years, there is a significant overlap of people treating science kind of the same way you would treat like some kind of a ritual, essentially. It's especially when like people like are starting going into arguments about studies and stuff like that. Like, oh, this study says I'm right, and it's like, that study, no, it doesn't. Did you actually read this? It's like, I know how this works. It's like the Sorcerer's Apprentice, essentially. Like, I see how you do this. You point to a study that says you're right, and that means you have to do whatever I have to do whatever you say. But that's it. Kind of it's an emphasis on the rhetorical aspect of science rather than the actual rather than the research substance of it. And whether you actually misunderstand it or not, it's completely missing the point. You realize far too late that the entire argument of whether someone actually knows what they're talking about or not completely misses the point.
Yeah.
And especially because not only is my background like in STEM and stuff like that, but also my mental health thing is I'm neurodivergent. I'm also trans, but I'm also have a pretty severe case of complex PTSD, medical oriented complex PTSD. Because my abusers, my biological family, who I haven't spoken to in a few years, they were kind of the same assumption. Oh, it's the doctor, white man, white lab coat, tells you what to do. You don't question it, essentially. And it never occurred to them that what they were doing may be not just harmful to my health, but threatening to my life. And I almost died primarily because of their negligence and their obliviousness of the whole situation. And they need to double down because no, this has to be helpful. This can't be harmful because that means I caused harm for nothing. And it's that, and it's also, you also see that with providers as well, especially in the mental health space, especially in the field of psychiatry, because it never, unless you know like a lot of history around how a lot of these practices work, especially with women's health and hormones and everything. Here's a morbid fun fact. The chainsaw was originally invented for the early stages of cesarean section surgeries.
Interesting.
Oh,
That's what the chainsaw was originally invented for. I'll let you fill in the gaps from that. But yeah, it really, unless you know the history, you have to really advocate for yourself and also know what your body needs, but also not just advocating for yourself and standing on your own principles, but also do your research, not from a few different sources, but it's exhausting to try to learn as much as you can. So in the event you meet a provider that may or may not have your best interest at heart, regardless of whether they mean to or not, it's a very tumultuous thing. It's a very scary thing, but it's also kind of a hopeful time as well, because there's a lot of awareness, not just mental health, but also towards hormones, how that impacts everything, how the brain and impacts everything in your body. It's an exciting time in terms of research, but it's also kind of a scary time because we realize how much damage has actually been caused.
yeah.
I'm honestly curious to what your experience with that is, especially because you talked with a lot of other women in various support groups. How have their experiences been? I'm sure you've heard your fair share of horror stories.
Yeah, it's crazy. And also because, you brought up CPTSD, neurodivergence. Both of those have a lot to do with the way that your body processes hormones. And I too have CPTSD, and I do have ADHD that was diagnosed later in life. And I wasn't processing progesterone like another person would, all the studies, everything I've read. And so I started diving into that myself. And yeah, like your body just processes them differently for some reason. Or if you're on the spectrum, the autism spectrum as well, can affect the way you process hormones. So that was really eye-opening. And it's crazy that, okay, I went to a gynecologist. I had to have a vaginal ultrasound done, which obviously I can't have done by my telemedicine. So I got a referral for someone local. And I went in, and the first thing he said was, I need to be honest with you. I know nothing about hormones or menopause. He's a perimenopause or menopause, and he's a gynecologist. He's been around for a long time. And I started telling him the things that I learned, and he's like, you know infinitely more than I do. In fact, if you want to send me anything that you think I should know or read, I'm open to it. He said, but I am not your hormone guy. And I said, well, I need to have some labs run. And he said, I don't even know what to look for. And I said, but I know what to look for. I know how to read the labs. And he said, all right, we'll order them right now. And had his nurse come in and take my blood. So I was grateful for his honesty.
Sure.
Yeah, that honesty and that humility is important. That's a green flag.
Yes. But also frightening. This man, and he kept telling me over and over and over during my appointment, well, I can take out your uterus. I'd be happy to do a hysterectomy if you want to go towards a hysterectomy. And I'm like, dude, if I don't need to get a hysterectomy, I don't want one. If I need one, of course, if it's going to hurt me, get it out. But I don't want surgery if it's unnecessary. And it wasn't necessary. I ended up knowing that it was hormones, and I figured it out. And it's because of the PTSD and the ADHD that I was processing differently, and I had to shift things around. But I did that all on my own. There's only like, I think 7% of gynecologists feel confident in their knowledge of declining hormones. Like it is, you would think a gynecologist would know.
Yeah,
you would think, but it's a lot of and the thing is that a lot OBGYN, just like any doctors in the medical field, they know as much as what they're taught in medical school and residency and everything. But if you've been around for the last 30 years, the last 5 years alone has shifted the entire field dramatically. A lot has changed. I mean, there's a lot of advocacy for, I'm on the spectrum myself, a lot of advocacy for neurodivergence and disability rights and having that autonomy, especially because the way I was abused and how so many others survive the same way. Like, I'm elder Gen Z, I'm 25, and we're still fighting this fight. But that's 5 years alone. That is not a long time ago. That is not long at all. And I think because, like, I think, I mean, not just the movement, not just all this awareness being around now, but it's also like how much, not just like the awareness, like you look back and not only was it not a long time ago, but it's also a very drastic shift. And the fact that your OBGYN has that awareness, has that level of humility, is like, I have no idea what I'm looking at here, but I want to work with you and we can figure it out together. That is something I think a lot of providers need now more than ever. Having that humility and then that willingness to learn more.
Yeah.
I think going back to what I was saying, like with the ritual of it all, I think a lot of especially with the mental health or otherwise, they treat the DSM or a lot of old school medical textbooks like doctrine. It's not. It's always changing. You're always learning more. And yeah, I'm honestly curious. What symptoms did you notice with your hormone changes? Because with the hysterectomy, you just take everything out. Like you can either have your ovaries still in place, or you just get everything out. But with that surgery, you're taking it out, and it fixes the problem, but you don't really understand what the problem was to begin with.
Yeah, and then also, you know, once your hormones start declining, you have fluctuations before you go into menopause. I mean, and for years, some people, it starts a lot younger than they would ever expect. I think I was probably in perimenopause for 10 years, and about 8 years of that I didn't even know. I just thought maybe I was moody, or, you know, I had an IUD, so things were, you know, didn't really have a period very often. So I didn't know what was happening. Because I knew nothing. No one ever mentioned to me. I didn't even know perimenopause was a thing. But once those hormones, once they start declining, other than a few, you know, some fluctuations, they don't ever come back. And keeping your estradiol up, and the sooner you can catch it, so that's in perimenopause, the sooner you can catch it, the less likely you are to have Alzheimer's, dementia, heart disease, osteoporosis. I mean, they're huge things. And I just feel like, it's a pain in the ass, and it's to get blood tests, you know, regularly, to see a special doctor, to get the hormones and everything. It is a pain in the ass, but also I don't, you know, if I can prevent those things, I'm all about it. And not to mention the mental health part of it.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, they definitely go hand in hand. You know, I in my mid 40s, I had an ablation. I had a very severe case of endometriosis. And what I liked about that is it controlled the bleeding and the cramps and all that. But I got to keep the ovaries and everything involved with that. And so the hormones were still there.
Right.
Ablations
can be great if, you know, if you need it. They're a great way to go. And they can also they've gotten less dangerous over the years too. Now they can like fill your uterus with like a really hot saline instead of cauterizing it. So there's options. I think it's great to go.
Right. And then so now I found out just last year, this was pre-mental illness diagnosis, and I was all over the place. And I'm, you know, talking to my primary care guy, PCP. I'm like, look, I'm under a lot of stress. I'm going through divorce. I'm, you know, I had to sell the marital home. Blah, blah, blah. I have to move in with somebody, and I've never had to rely on anyone. Like my mood was all over the place. And so he says, well, it could be, you know, it could be your depression. I was previously diagnosed with major depressive disorder. So he upped my Cymbalta by like double. And then he said, well, let's get some labs and see where you are with menopause. Well, I was postmenopausal at 54. So like that whole time between the ablation in my 40s up until last year, I didn't even know, because I wasn't bleeding, just those effects of the ablation itself.
Right.
But it turns out that a lot of it was probably a combination of perimenopause to full menopause, along with the bipolar disorder. So
Yeah.
it takes a long time to get diagnosed, just get everything straightened out. Like I changed regimens and medications so many times, and my mental health suffered for it.
Yeah, it's also like a fundamental misunderstanding of like where hormones originate. If you're having like either a hormonal imbalance, like it's not localized to a specific organ like the uterus. It's not localized like your endocrine system and your all these other organs that produce hormones on top of their typical like classic functions. I mean, it's a lot that not only we're learning about on the fly, but there's a lot of biochemistry, organic chemistry aspects of it. The average person doesn't really fully understand, and either doesn't understand or doesn't even have access to even consider. Like you literally don't know what you don't know. If you don't know what you're looking for, how you're supposed to know?
Right.
It's a crazy world right now, because I think we're understanding, like we having a more thorough understanding of how biochemistry, how these like impact one along with the other. I mean, a hormone in itself, it can be a variety of different chemicals, a variety of different compounds, a variety of different molecules for that matter. But people refer to as like, oh, you're hormonal, like with you're either going through puberty or like in my case, like HRT with testosterone. It's like puberty 2.0.
Yeah.
Oh my god, puberty 2.0. It's like, why are you punching walls? It's like you sound like my son.
Yeah. Hey, Nero.
Yeah,
Nero, do you have anything you'd like to say about it?
Oh, I was going to say a while ago, I had a hysterectomy when I was 31. I had a lot of cysts and fibroid tumors and stuff. And I went through like really heavy, really long menstruation cycles, a lot of bleeding. That I used to donate plasma to supplement my income. I was a college student and whatnot. Then I would get deferred because I had low hematocrit. And it was a woman who ended up asking me like about my menstruation. I was like, well, this. So it would go on for at least 9 days, most of that bleeding heavily. So that's not normal at all. But I had been, and I get really bad cramps. Sometimes I'd like puke and pass out from them. And I had begged doctors in my like mid-20s to like give me a hysterectomy. I didn't want that anymore. Like it made me sick so much that it affected my regular life. It affected my performance as a student. It affected my work life, personal life, everything.
Yeah. And it honestly, like and then of course is the chaos in order to make that happen, make that procedure work.
Finally, I had a female OBGYN, and she did various diagnostics and labs, and the ultrasound and other imaging did, okay, you got fibroids and whatnot. You can get an ablation, or you can get a partial hysterectomy. It's just if you get an ablation, you got to have your tubes tied. I'm like, if I'm still going to menstruate, I don't want that. I'm done. Partial hysterectomy, and I have not looked back. I started going through perimenopause summer of 2018 when I was in subtropical East China. But I think I'm over the period where you have like a lot of hot flashes. I only get them every once in a while now.
Yeah,
it was just maybe 10 years, or maybe not 10 years, maybe 6 or 7 years before then, I could have had some relief from that.
Sure.
So, the doctors would say, oh, you might want to have a kid someday, or blah, blah, blah.
You know what you want, what you don't want.
Yeah, and it's always
I can adopt if I want a kid.
Yeah, I mean, if more people adopt, we wouldn't need foster care. I think like everybody's got to stop thinking like they're. There's this obsession with Victorian England right now that everybody is like aestheticizing, romanticizing the nobility. You were not the mobility, so stop acting like you have some kind of dynasty to pass on with biological kids. No,
Right? Yeah.
It's like,
well, gosh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Cam.
Oh, I was going to say, I'm sorry it took so long for them to actually give you the hysterectomy. And like, I've heard other women say that too, where the doctors just kept saying, yeah, but you might want to have kids. Well, people know if they do or they don't want to have kids, or the fact that they have to be a certain age, or talk to their partner. They don't talk to a wife when the husband gets a vasectomy.
Right.
But if you choose to have a hysterectomy, a lot of times they want to talk to your partner, which I think is just
and a lot of states around the United States have like laws that actually make that happen. So even if like the doctor would go around that, sees the kind of BSness of it all, it's kind of standard in how medical treatment is kind of taught. I think there's a lot of these old school mentalities. It's not just in the curriculum. It's also in how culture, how these mannerisms are passed on. And there's a lot of shifts going on in the field of obstetrics right now, especially in regards to psychiatry and how hormones impact all of it. But it's still very much impacted by the area where you could institutionalize your wife for pointing out the fact that you cheated on her.
Yeah.
It's still very much based in that world.
But I didn't want to be sick so much, and I remember people saying, "Oh, I'm so sorry," because they knew I'd never have kids. I'm happy.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Done being sick so much, it just ruined my life.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, and it's so hard on your body when you bleed that heavily for that long, over and over and over, because your ferritin goes low, your iron goes low, and it makes you cold, makes you tired, makes you non-motivated. I mean, there's so many things that go along with that. You want to feel good. And if that means taking out your uterus, then by all means do it. I mean, it's just, it's debilitating. It can be so bad. I'm really glad
I think that's, and I think that's kind of a level of cognitive dissonance that I think a lot of men, tell me if I'm wrong in the chat, but a lot of men have a hard time understanding this, because the equivalent would be willingly castrating yourself. And for the average guy, nothing is more terrifying. And it's like, why would you do that to yourself? It's terrifying to them, but it's like that tells you a lot about like our pain and like how we've had to live out the world. It's like, you're willing to do that to yourself just to live a better life.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
I don't need a birth child to live, but I need to not bleed all the time. And
and even like giving birth to a child is no guarantee with that. I mean, maternity death rates are still very much a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's also crazy how I had no idea, but the highest suicide rate in women is 45 to 54.
Makes sense.
It skyrockets the suicide rate for women. That's huge.
That's way huge.
That is absurd.
That's
absurd.
Huge. It is. And I think a lot of women during that time, they don't have the medical support that they need. Maybe their family doesn't understand. They don't really have the support that they need. They feel like they're going crazy and they don't understand, and they feel out of control. They're out of control of their bodies. And it's just, and that's another huge driving factor for why I continue to talk to so many women. I'm on my support groups a lot, kind of obsessively a lot. I've kind of toned it down a little bit. I've been focusing on other things, but that has been a huge thing that I've done consistently for the last few years. That's what I'm always doing. If I can help one person feel less alone in this, feel like they're not going crazy. I've gone through it. There's so many other people that have gone through it, and that there's a reason why this is happening. Mm-hmm. So if I can help, anybody feel less alone. I felt very alone during mine because I had no idea what was going on. But and like the divorce rate jumped really high.
Yeah. And it honestly makes sense, because then you have like empty nester syndrome coming into play. You have so many couples that stay together for the kid's sake, or they kind of just make it work for the kid's sake. And then once that obligation, quote unquote, is done with, it's like, all right, what else is there? And you're trying to I find like a lot of like women right now are like, you guys, honestly, I look up to you for that reason, because you're refinding your humanity after so much of the last few decades or so. And even though I'm transitioning more male, and even then, but like, I always found myself like more connected with like Gen X or like elder millennial women for that reason, because you're kind of seen as a lot more, and yet like you're reestablishing what it means to find your own humanity with it all, and trying to find your humanity outside of a role that you already served your purpose with.
Yeah.
Also to break
And your roles.
toxic,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
also trying to break toxic cycles of behavior taught to our parents and their parents and before us, and
generational trauma.
And
there was not so much awareness before our generation.
Right.
And even then, like a lot of mistakes were made. Mistakes were definitely made, and I really admire you guys for moving forward for that. And like honestly, Cameron, I see you put your heart and soul into trying to learn more about this topic and pushing more into this research. Have you ever considered looking into? There's a few nonprofits for third party backed research, because I think a lot of the backlog for a lot of this medical research that needs to be done. Like for example, do you guys have any idea how many trans women die of prostate cancer every year?
That's not a statistic I know, but I
neither do I. And that's not a good sign.
Yeah,
right.
Because there's no metric there for it. There's not enough people researching it, and I think there's a lot. I think there needs a lot more, but I think there's not just the research aspect of course, we have so many like young people like me. They want to go into the medical field, want to go into the pharmacological research and all that. The problem is the way it's set up in terms of logistics is that you need someone to pay for it, and those people may not have the best interests at heart. And that's honestly why I look for wonderful humans like you, Cameron, looking to learn more about these topics. And who knows, maybe start your own 501c to back these kinds of research and make things better for a lot of people long term.
That's interesting. Yeah, we should talk about it. I would love to learn more.
Yeah, I think there's like that's honestly why I'm going both the business logistics route as well as the STEM route, because I have a lot of inventions in my backlog as well. A lot of tech stuff, a lot of like science-based stuff in the backlog. And I didn't want to be tied or tethered to a philanthropist or some other means of funding my operations. I wanted to do my own thing the way I wanted to do it. But to do that, you need knowledge of the business and logistics side of things, not just what you're doing. And I would love to talk to you more about that, about starting maybe those foundations to fund the back end of science that is very much needed now more than ever.
I love that.
Yeah,
I wanted to circle back really quick on the divorce thing, because yes, divorce rate goes up really high in perimenopause and menopausal ages. But also, it's very multifaceted. With the hormone changes, they call it the change. That's what I had heard it called when I was growing up, the change. But I didn't understand that I would literally completely change. Like you have to reinvent yourself, because not only because I've helped raise 4 kids. So the empty nest part where you're not a full-time parent, you don't have kids at home anymore. So that part changes, but also just the way that you want to nurture and care other beings, it changes. And even when you get on hormone therapy, it doesn't go back. It helps, but it doesn't go back to what it was before. So I was completely blindsided that I was going to completely change. Like, I'm not the same person I was perimenopause, but which is 1, very scary, 2, extremely empowering. And also it gives people a chance to reinvent yourself. Like, who am I? What's important to me? And anyway, so that has a part to do with the divorce. Also, I think women, when their hormones change, those high surges of estrogen, estradiol, when you're ovulating and throughout your cycle, it makes it so that you are more tolerant to bullshit, and you're more agreeable, and so that you can mate with somebody and possibly have children. It's part of our biology and evolution. But when that part of your life is done and gone, your bullshit meter, just like you can no longer tolerate the things that maybe you were able to tolerate before. So I mean, it's just, there's so many things. I mean, there's just,
Yeah,
it's
and
Right.
maybe you don't have to tolerate it. That's the
Yeah.
crazy part that so many people don't consider. Is like, I'm shifting into something completely different than I was before, and maybe that's not a bad thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Hey, there is a comment in the chat that we'd like to bring to light. It's Sacred Storylines. We're very familiar with Story Sacred. She says, I was 39 when I had mine. I never really felt like me after that. It's been a long road. I'm 70 and still wish I'd had other options available to me then. So, you know, it's come a long way. And, you know, Cameron, hats off to you for really putting your heart and soul out there and helping a lot of women in this. Because, like you said, like we really were blind to hormonal and how it affects us, you know.
Yeah. And
A
you
lot
know,
of
there's
change.
new studies. They are doing new studies where they used to say that you had to start hormones with it. And also I want to say that everyone's body is unique. You're your own body. And I feel like you should do whatever you want or not want to do with your body. It's your body. And because I made a choice for my body and I help women navigate that, it doesn't mean I think that's a blanket statement for everybody.
Absolutely.
I think that we are all free to make our own decisions. But so they did say that they used to say that 10 years from menopause was when you should stop using hormones. And they're doing new studies and they're realizing that no, that's synthetic hormones. And there's now experts and, you know, the head of the urology of Association of America has come out and said that vaginal 0.01 vaginal estradiol is safe for almost all women. Even if you have cancer that's estrogen dominant, it's such a low dose. It's very tiny, but
The dose
it
makes the
also
difference.
it saves your body from vaginal atrophy, which is also something I'd never heard of.
Wow. Yeah, I don't think I've ever heard of that.
Yeah, that's something that happens. Especially when you're on testosterone HRT. That's honestly a very common thing. Like that, like things will get tight and then they will just shrink altogether completely. I'm not for transitioning. For me, that's benefit in my favor, but for a lot of people, if your estrogen starts plummeting, your testosterone starts rising, then that vaginal atrophy is a very common thing. That's something that happens.
It is, and what is one thing about it? I mean, there's a lot of awful things about vaginal atrophy. You know, I mean, a completely dry vagina where it feels like there's razor blades if you try to have any type of sexual contact. Your skin gets very, very thin and it bleeds, and you lose your labia so that you have no cushioning and you look like a Barbie. You lose your clitoris, so you're like flat. So
Wow.
even if you're not sexually active, you may want to ride a bike. You may want to ride a horse. You may want to sit on a chair or go running or walking and be comfortable in your vaginal area. So it's like, and also it helps prevent UTIs. UTIs in senior citizens can cause toxicity and death. And it can cause dementia, Alzheimer's, if UTIs go, not if you don't get medication for it. And it's just, so anyways, 0.01% vaginal estradiol is super cheap. It is prescription. That's a big one that it's like, even if people don't want to take the hormone trio, testosterone, estradiol, and progesterone, if they just want vaginal relief and to keep their, that whole area healthy, it helps prevent incontinence too. So anyways, lots of good things. And that's the American Association of Urology has come out and said that's the number one way to prevent and also cure vaginal atrophy. But there's another name for it.
Yeah, there's a few names for it depending on what's driving it. But it, like
Mhm.
okay, but like oh yeah, that's like honestly a pretty good point. And this is this is urology. It's not exclusive to just women. I think I
Mhm.
think there's a lot of people refer to like hormones, like use it either to dismiss like moodiness or something, or either like a situation that they don't really want to deal with, like social, emotional, that kind of thing. But also, there is a factor with this regarding hormones that affects men as well that has not been addressed. But even so, you have with all this new research being poured into how premenopause and postmenopause, how that affects all those cycles. You also have new developments in men's care as well. I mean, they just released a new form of birth control, like a temporary vasectomy, essentially. Is a little gel thing you inject into the piping that's snipped during the vasectomy. So it's not permanent. It's everlasting, but it's temporary. But it blocks sperm from coming in, and it's still a vasectomy. Only it's not permanent and it's not as invasive. And so this research is pretty important for humans as a whole, regardless of what you got going on downstairs or what you identify with.
Right.
And I think that's important to highlight, and especially with like shifting hormones, like how that changes it all comes like healthcare is a human right. Healthcare is just human, regardless of what you got going to search, regardless of how you identify. Healthcare is a human right, plain and simple, and it comes in a lot of different forms. And I think that's something that needs to be respected, regardless.
Yeah, absolutely. And if there's a lot of doctors even today who will not prescribe testosterone to women. Well, it's not FDA approved, but women have more testosterone than they do in their bodies than they do estrogen
Mm-hmm.
in their heyday. It's, the levels are measured differently. So it looks like you have more estrogen, but if you were to convert the units, you actually have more testosterone. And a lot of doctors will not prescribe it unless you tell them you have a low libido. They don't want your husband to be unhappy or your partner to be unhappy, and they'll give you testosterone. Where it's like, well, what about your muscle health, your bone health, your brain health? Testosterone
Yeah.
helps with those things. It's not just for sex.
Right.
It's not
I see
just
women who
for
say, I don't want to have sex, so I don't want to be on testosterone. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
do you want strong bones and strong muscles and a clear mind? If that interests you, you might look into it. It's not just the sex hormone. So
It's not. Hormones are so multifaceted for that exact reason. You associate certain hormones with certain functions in the body, but they're so multifaceted. There's so many other functions that they have. Testosterone, like it's responsible for muscle growth, muscle health, and I mean, think of all like you have elderly women falling and breaking everything, like the my back hip kind of joke. It's awful, but that's
yeah.
because of muscle weakness. If you
Mhm.
fall and you can't get up, then your muscles are too weak to do that, and that's a terrible thing. That's a scary sign. And even going back to that doesn't have to be that way anymore. But like, quick sidebar: Mozart died of a UTI. to be clear about that, that's how Mozart died.
Wow. Yeah, that's terrifying.
It's terrifying, and the fact that it's still happening to this day is absurd.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. It's preventable and
Completely.
treatable.
And
If you
treatable.
know. If you know that's what's going on.
Yeah, it's treatable if you know what's going on, and it's treatable if you have access, and that's why we need more voices speaking out about this.
Right.
Mhm.
Do you have any thoughts, Nero?
I was in my mid-30s when I had a stealth UTI. I had no idea. There was no sign of my urine. There was no discomfort. And until it got to where it hurt to go to the bathroom, regardless of which type of,
Mm.
Yeah.
And I ended up going to the hospital, and they made me sign like this advanced directive stuff. But
Wow.
I didn't actually have this. But yeah, it was pretty bad. I missed like a week of classes. I was in grad school at the time.
Mm.
I had
It's
to
terrible.
be on bed rest, and
And I think this is something that this could happen to anyone. I think this
Right.
is a lot of people need to be more conscious of their health. And I mean, considering like colon cancer is starting to show up more and more in younger and younger people, I
Mhm.
think we all need to be a little bit more cognizant of our bodies, especially our bodies on our own, and learn to just take care of ourselves. I mean, Like, do you want your body to look good for others, or do you want your body to feel good? Focus on what you want your body to feel like. Focus on what you want your body to do like, not what it looks like entirely. That will come
And
later.
to be have that awareness.
Yep.
Awareness of your body. And I think a lot of older generations, maybe they weren't in tune with their body. So they didn't know. So they would just white knuckle it and just think, oh, well. And also a lot of women are taught that to endure pain because their job is to be strong and to take care of other people, to be the caretaker of others and things that they weren't caring for themselves. They didn't know what was going on. I think that's changing a lot, which is great.
Yeah.
And men too. Men need to don't rely on their partners or someone else to get them to the doctor. Be aware of your body, know what's going on, write down symptoms. And, everyone should be aware and be their own self-advocate and learn about what's going on in their bodies so that we can.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it's like of course there's this metric that women live like at least a decade more than men do on average. That should not have to be the case in this modern age. I think everybody deserves the resources and access they need to take care of themselves, and as well as to encourage others to do the same.
Right.
I think there's we should focus on what we want our bodies to look like above anything else. Like, skinniness is not indicative of health. 6-pack abs are not indicative of health. It doesn't always have to be. I think it's where a lot of people across the age, even across age groups, have dealing with eating disorders, regardless of age demographic. And
Yeah.
I think that's something that needs to be spoken out about a lot more, especially regarding hormones, because if you're not feeling yourself right, that will impact everything. That will cascade, and that's how hormones will work. It all is a chain reaction that you don't even know where to start from. And if you have to get a hysterectomy at age 39, then there has to be other options. And it really just there is now. You just have to figure out where the discrepancy is lying on the molecular level, and that's expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we have anything else? I mean, we covered that topic quite fully.
Yeah, this is great. I love this one.
Kameron, do you have a group down there where you are currently? That
For a what?
just a support group, women's support group on the topic.
So everything I do is online.
Okay.
And I almost launched an online course before I did this move.
Uh-huh.
It was about, I already have my company ready. I've been working tirelessly getting that put together. It's just an easy online course, and it's from it's from me. I'm not a medical professional, but it's just teaching things that I've learned and things that have helped, and some of my stories to help people feel less alone. And it's called Love Her Again.
Mm-hmm.
And I just have a little bit more work to do on it, and I'm going to make that available. I have a Facebook group called Love Her Again that is open to anyone who wants to learn about what may happen to their body as they age, or if they're in it and want to learn more. Then it's a place for people to share. A lot of times we share videos and things like that.
Cool. I was going to see if I could find it and pop you in the chat with a link, but I don't know. Love Her Again. See if I can find it. Anyway, keep on going.
Yeah, and I can also send it to you as well.
Okay.
But,
Oh yes.
yeah, I'm really excited to share that.
Yeah. I do remember you were sending out questionnaires a while back, so I thought that was cool. Just trying to get that started, right? Just to get some feedback and.
Yeah, I wanted feedback about what's important to people, what they'd like to focus on, what they'd like to learn most about. And it was really easy to interpret because most everybody wanted the same thing. So It was pretty easy.
Well, awesome.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Nero, do you have anything to add?
No. I'm actually kind of tired.
Yeah, I know. This head cold of mine's just I'm starting to. But hey, Cameron. Oh wait, all right. So we have the.
I did just send it
attachment
to
here.
you.
Yeah, all right. Let me
This
get
is a
that.
chill one. This is a chill episode. I like this.
Yeah, let me get this going and send the link into the chat. Let's see, share, copy. Oh, I did it on the wrong computer, but that's okay. I'll get it over there.
Yeah,
Sounds good.
We're all in this together, honestly, and I really love that we're building this community together. A lot of because mental health, like, is human health. It all kind of comes like interacts with each other. I mean, what is the human brain? What does that human brain control? What does the human brain do?
Right.
Everything.
And it's
Yeah.
complicated. We're always learning everything, you know.
I mean, it's incredibly complicated. It's an organ made of fat and various other molecules that figured out a way to name itself.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think we are getting close, 3 minutes to the top of the hour. So again, thank you very much for joining us, Cameron. Anytime you want to come back, let us know. We'll have you on.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for having me, and it was great to see all your faces. And yeah, I would like. I'll keep an eye on the podcast, and I'll have to pop back in and see what you guys are sharing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we do have some. We're booked out for the next, I don't know, 4 weeks, I think.
Yeah, I was looking at the topic. So
yeah, there's going to be some good ones.
I'll come and listen.
Yeah, come in, join in the chat. So, all right. Well, again,
and I'd love to link with you.
I had to say,
Thank you so much for joining us.
Good
I
All right, everyone.
night.
Good night.